It's time for another Tubi recommendation guide. This time, we're talking about some underrated, underseen, and underappreciated Irish horror films that you can watch in honor of St. Patrick's Day. Let's dive into it, shall we? First up is Isolation from 2005. This one is about a group of 5 people who become unwilling participants in a nightmarish experiment on a small rural Irish farm. The story centers around a farmer who allows this scientist to experiment on his cattle, and unfortunately it creates this parasite that if it gets off the farm, it will essentially destroy the world. The movie is very gross and graphic in the animal stuff, in what it shows, and how this parasite essentially gets into people or gets into the cattle and just kind of mutilates it and mutates, and it's terrifying. It's got that mad scientist feel to it. It has the isolation of these people being stuck in this farm and the terror of this thing growing to enormous lengths. It kind of has a same vibe as The Thing to me, in how The Thing was able to jump from person to person and how The Thing attacks the dogs and then just kind of destroys them essentially. This one has great performances. We have Essie Davis, and it's just really gritty and dark, and it's a great nightmarish kind of sci-fi almost horror movie that you can stream on Tubi. Nightman is a 2023 horror film about a young woman who moves back to her boyfriend's childhood home, and she discovers that he might not be as perfect as she imagined. He begins sleepwalking and strange stuff starts happening and people start dying around the farm. This one has some of the most beautiful, dreary, gothic atmosphere I've ever seen. This story is really about their relationship, and it gets pretty toxic as the movie goes on. The boyfriend is very kind of just awful to her, and she's pregnant, so she's even more vulnerable. And it's just interesting watching her navigate this dynamic and kind of avoid clear red flags that she should be picking up on and leaving for safety. And it's a terrifying, slow burn psychological horror. Citadel from 2012 is about a man who essentially witnesses his pregnant wife get attacked by a group of children wearing hoodies, and they attack her with a syringe. She ends up getting put into a coma, and the baby is delivered and survives. So he is taking care of the baby on his own, and eventually his wife does die. This traumatic event basically sets him off to be terrified, and he becomes agoraphobic, and soon he starts seeing hooded children everywhere, and he thinks that they're after his daughter next, and he embarks on this journey with this rogue priest, and he learns all about these children in this building, and it's weird, it's dark and gruesome at times. It's an interesting story about trauma and grief, and the hooded children, it reminded me so much of David Cronenberg's The Brood. Very similar situation where these kids are kind of manifestations from his fear and his trauma, and the story is all symbolic about him getting through his grief and his trauma, overcoming his fears, and it was just a really interesting journey. It feels bizarre, but it was fun and entertaining, and the hooded kids are really creepy. Haunted Ulster Live, which was one of my favorite horror movies of last year. This is very much like Ghost Watch. It's about a film crew or a news crew who are filming at a haunted house on Halloween in 1998, and it goes horribly wrong. So the footage you're seeing is supposed to be that live broadcast from the evening. I think that this doesn't really add much newness to the genre, but it is so nostalgic watching these characters and interacting with each other. The ghost hunters, they bring in a psychic and a bunch of other things, and I thought that the performances were really good. I love that it's set on Halloween, and it just goes to interesting places in the finale that I wasn't expecting, and I thought that was a unique concept. And overall, I had a blast with this. If you love Ghost Watch and found footage mockumentary style stuff, I think you'll really like this one. Boy Eats Girl is a 2005 zombie comedy. It's about a young boy who professes his love for his crush, and then he ends up dying that night. His mother brings him back as a zombie, and then a zombie outbreak happens. This one stars Samantha Mumba, and it's just a lot of fun. It's definitely a throwback to the early 2000s. It's got that kind of early 2000s charm and humor to it, and it is just a fun zombie movie. Next is the Glenarma Tapes from 2023. This is about a group of college students who are are following their two college professors into the woods in hopes of capturing them doing something they shouldn't be doing. But when they get there, they discover that their professors are into some dark and sinister shit. So this one is very much cult focused, and these characters have to figure out how to get out of the situation alive. This one I think has some really interesting characters, and I love the concept of them stumbling into this occult activity thinking they were gonna go there for something else. I think that the found footage stuff, it does get a little crazy and out of hand at times where it's hard to focus and follow at what's happening, but I think that it's one of the better found footage, low budget found footage horror movies out there because the story is engaging, the characters are engaging, and it's a fun story. Next is Crone Wood from 2016. This is another found footage horror, and this one we're following a couple who are on a first date that seems to be going well. They're in the middle of the woods, and things take a turn when they encounter these women, and they follow them back to their home, and they soon discover these women are into some weird stuff. This is another occultish one that I think does it a little bit better than Glenarma Tapes. It's very inventive and creative, and it just gets batshit. And I love when movies get batshit crazy. First of all, I love the setting of this in the deep woods in the middle of nowhere, and there's characters who wear masks that are really creepy and cool, and it's just unsettling, and there's this ominous feeling throughout as we're watching this couple kind of navigate the situation, and when they realize they're in a bad situation, it's too late, so watching them try to get out of that is really fun. There's witchcraft, there's ritualistic sacrifice happening, and it's just really fun and entertaining. Highly recommend this one. I feel like it gets overlooked way too much. And there you have it. There's a short and sweet list of some underrated Irish horror films that you can currently stream on Tubi in celebration of St. Patrick's Day. There are so many more films from Irish filmmakers on Tubi. I just haven't had time to get to them yet. Let me know if you've seen any of the movies I talked about, if there are any other underrated, underseen, lesser known Irish horror movies that are currently available to stream right now in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching, guys. I will catch you next time.